inspiring bomb threats was appointed to such and such committee. And then in paragraph 10, and it's, by the way, it's literally paragraph 10, I counted. In paragraph 10, it's, oh, by the way, the authorities found none of these bomb threats to be credible, and none of them had any, she had nothing to do with any of them. But technically, at least in her case, the headline was accurate. She was accused of this. She was accused of it by the very journalists who are now writing the article with this headline. It bothered.
So that was 2 GMCs?
Set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here.
It often depends on the content. Together a very short letter or book, and they would present it to a new king or queen, offering their service. The educator would hope to be the tutor to the king or queen's young children, and a political advisor would be saying, hey, here are my ideas on how you can practically be a wise and effective leader. Pick me to be your advisor, to be, in today's terms, your cabinet. And so these pieces of advice, moral period of time, begrudgingly be pulled into public life as a opportunity to serve your country. And it was really about the institutions, whereas today it's about the personalities driving our politics. And you're absolutely right that the ancient world, not just the early American Republic, was much different than the situation we find ourselves in today.
I mean, I wonder if some of that has to do with the difference between the way they viewed politics and the way we view politics. In our day and age, if you listen to, let's say, a State of the Union address, you get the impression that the president is a messianic figure who can remake society anew, who can promise everything to everybody. I mean, how many presidents have we had?
The Mises Institute has a new free book for minor issues fans. Dr. Guido Hulsmann's How Inflation Destroys Civilization. Learn how inflation isn't only making us poor, it's harming our culture, mental well-being, and the moral foundations of civilization itself. Get your free copy today at Mises.org/issues-free.
Deluged with information in financial markets and the economy. But what I want to talk about today is what we don't know. Recently, David Einhorn was interviewed on Bloomberg, and he brought up an interesting analogy between poker and investing. Typically, I don't like analogies for investing or especially the economy, but I'm going to extend his analogy from poker to blackjack here today. He said that poker and the facts of investing are similar. There are things that we know, there are things that we can infer, and then there is uncertainty. So in cards, we know the cards that we have. We can make inferences regarding what cards are remaining, what cards we see our fellow players have. Investing, we can make inferences about management. We can deduce from the facts that we already know to infer about the remaining possibilities. And then there's uncertainty about the next card or what's going to happen next in the economy to prices and production. Now in the free market, there is what we know. It tends to be more stable, and we actually know less about our business because there are no regulatory disclosures to disclose information by competitors and so forth about their status. In terms of inference, again, the economy is more stable and there's less to infer. And there's less need to infer because one bad bank doesn't destroy the banking sector. One bankruptcy is not looming news of economic catastrophe, but it's actually good news for everybody else, namely their competitors. years. So when Best Buy goes bankrupt, is that really a sign of retail problems as it is today? Or would it be in a free market just good for others, new opportunity for entrepreneurs? Uncertainty in the free market is also less, primarily because there's less macroeconomic instability. And there's also very fewer wild cards in the free market economy. Now, what are these wild cards? What I'm really referring to here is not wild cards in the sense that it will improve your chances of winning, but it's an anti-wild card in the sense that all players will lose as a result. So in blackjack, if the dealer gets 21, blackjack, all the players lose and the dealer wins. What are these anti-wild cards in the real world of investing? Well, there's many examples, but the two I'll mention today are the rating agencies. All rating agencies were started as a business that rated assets for the buyers of assets such as bonds or government bonds. Now, those same rating agencies rate those assets for the sellers of those assets due to regulatory requirements. So it's a wrong side bias. Instead of working for the buyers, they're working for the sellers and have a natural inclination to overrate those assets. Regulatory agencies are also a wild card. Supposedly set up for consumer protection and investor protection, agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Reserve, and many, many other federal and state agencies are supposed to protect us. But what we found is a systematic pattern of failure on their part. So we can go back nearly a quarter of a century to the tech bubble and Enron, which was the darling energy company that was supposed to set new standards moving forward, with regulatory agencies all over their company and their company books and so forth. And yet, lo and behold, we find